Captain Marcus Chen awakens in a gleaming alien coliseum with no memory of how he arrived. The retired Navy SEAL blinks under harsh purple lights as thousands of chittering extraterrestrials observe him from towering stands. A holographic display shows his vital signs and what appears to be betting odds. The Valdorian Battlemasters, 8-foot-tall beings with iridescent scales and multiple pairs of arms, approach through a force field. Their translator device activates. Human specimen, you have been selected for the honor of participation in the grand trials. Your species is classified as deceptively frail, yet stubbornly persistent. The Masters have wagered considerable resources that you cannot endure 3 minutes in our crucible. Prepare yourself for glory or swift conclusion. The last thing Marcus remembers is setting up camp in the Cascades, brewing coffee as dawn broke over the mountains. Now the air carries a metallic tang, and gravity feels slightly off, perhaps 80% of Earth's pull. He takes a measured breath, his training kicking in despite the surreal circumstances. Where am I, and under whose authority have I been brought here? Marcus asks, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his system. His eyes scan for exits, weapons, anything that might provide leverage. The lead Valdorian, a specimen with emerald-tinted scales and elaborate gold markings, steps forward. Marcus notes the deference shown by the others, clearly a hierarchical society. You stand in the Grand Coliseum of the 17th Quadrant, human. I am Supreme Master Cell. Your planet is unknown to most species, categorized merely as Developing World 3371b in our registry. We select specimens from across the galaxy to test in our arenas. Your abduction was authorized under Intergalactic Sporting Code 447, which permits temporary acquisition of sentience for exhibition events. Marcus processes this information, looking for angles while keeping his expression neutral. The aliens have technology far beyond Earth's capabilities, yet they've structured their society around combat sports and gambling. This suggests both advanced development and cultural limitations he might exploit. And if I refuse to participate? He asks, testing boundaries. A ripple of amusement passes through the gathered Valdorians. Master Xcel's upper arms cross while his lower ones gesture dismissively. Refusal is interpreted as forfeit, resulting in immediate disintegration. Xcel explains as though discussing weather. However, survival beyond 3 minutes earns you status as a protected competitor with rights under galactic law. No human has achieved this designation. The crowd's attention intensifies. Marcus notices subtle differences in the spectators. Some appear to be aristocracy based on their elaborate attire, while others wear simpler garments. Economic stratification, then. Useful information. How many humans have you tested? He asks, buying time as he studies the arena's layout. 7, answers Xcel. The longest lasted 78 seconds before cellular breakdown. We increased our standard wagering pool for your trial, based on your military background. Our scanners detected neural patterns consistent with extensive combat training. A smaller Valdorian approaches with what appears to be ceremonial attire, a lightweight mesh suit that shimmers with embedded technology. Preparation begins now, announces Xcel. You have 1 standard hour to acclimate to the competitor garments and receive the neural rule download. Most species use this time for prayer or meditation on their imminent demise. As the mesh suit adjusts to his form, Marcus feels microscopic probes analyzing his physiology. He maintains his composure, already formulating the beginnings of a plan. These aliens might understand human biology, but they clearly don't comprehend human adaptability or strategic thinking. I'll need that hour, Marcus replies with deliberate calmness. Though perhaps not for the reasons you expect. The Battlemasters place Marcus in a preparation chamber, expecting him to panic like previous contestants. Instead, he methodically examines his surroundings, noting the chamber's construction materials, atmospheric composition, and surveillance systems. Through the transparent walls, he observes other alien competitors, massive, armored beings from warrior cultures. performing elaborate pre-battle rituals. Marcus does something different. He sits cross-legged, closes his eyes, and begins deep breathing exercises while subtly testing the chamber's response to his movements. The lead Valdorian, Master Vexinar, increases his personal wager, intrigued by this unusual behavior. The human appears to be meditating rather than training. Fascinating but ultimately futile. The preparation chamber resembles a hexagonal cell with walls of some crystalline substance, not glass, Marcus notes as he gently raps it with his knuckle. The material doesn't vibrate like glass would. It's something denser, possibly energy-reinforced. The floor beneath him pulses with faint blue light, likely scanning and monitoring his biometrics. He intentionally controls his breathing to present a calm physiological profile. In adjacent chambers, he observes 5 other competitors. A massive reptilian creature with armored plates slams repeatedly against its enclosure, roaring challenges. 2 chambers down, a silicon-based entity performs what looks like ritualistic combat movements, its crystalline appendages glinting under the lights. None of them appear to be studying their surroundings. Interesting approach, human, comes a voice through hidden speakers. Most competitors use this time to fortify their aggression or prayer centers. Marcus doesn't respond immediately. He's noticed something peculiar. The environmental controls in his chamber adjust automatically to his biochemical readings. When his body temperature dropped slightly during meditation, the ambient temperature increased by 2 degrees. When his breathing slowed, oxygen levels subtly enriched. I find clearing my mind helps me perform better, he finally responds, watching carefully as a panel near the ceiling adjusts its output. There it is, the chamber systems are calibrating to maintain optimal biological conditions. Adaptive technology. Beyond his chamber, he sees the Valdorian masters gathered around a floating display, mandibles clicking as they place additional wagers. One gestures toward him, clearly amused. Marcus recognizes Master Xel conferring with another Valdorian whose gold-trimmed robes and elaborate headpiece suggest higher status. Master Vexinar has placed significant resources on your performance, the voice informs him. He believes you will last precisely 94 seconds, almost 20% longer than previous human contestants. Marcus continues his seemingly passive meditation while cataloging everything he observes. The control panel's configuration, the response patterns of the environmental systems, the hierarchical interactions among the Valdorians. He notices how junior attendants approach the masters with specific physical gestures. Information about protocol that might prove useful. May I ask about the Crucible's design principles? Marcus inquires, keeping his tone conversational. A pause. Then, an unusual request. The Crucible is the pinnacle of Valdorian adaptive challenge technology, designed to escalate difficulty until biological failure occurs. It analyzes contestant physiology in real time to apply precisely calibrated environmental pressures. Fascinating, Marcus responds. So it's essentially a responsive system that creates feedback loops based on biological readings. Correct, though simplified. The system employs 17 distinct environmental variables simultaneously. Marcus suppresses a smile. That just confirmed what he suspected. The arena functions through continuous biometric feedback. Any system designed to read biology can, potentially, be missiled by unexpected biological responses. In the observation area, Master Vexinar leans toward his superior. The human asks unusual questions. Most species inquire about survival records or mercy protocols. Perhaps this specimen doesn't understand its situation, responds the senior Valdorian. Humans are known for cognitive peculiarities. Increase the wager pool. This might prove more entertaining than anticipated. The preparation period ends with a resonant tone that vibrates through Marcus' bones. A Valdorian protocol officer enters with a neural interface crown. This will translate the rules directly to your consciousness, the alien explains. As the device activates, Marcus receives an information download about the Crucible, an adaptive arena that escalates environmental hostility until failure. He also receives something unexpected: complete schematics of the arena's systems, included automatically because the Valdorians considered technological understanding irrelevant without the physical capacity to exploit it. Marcus suppresses a smile as he identifies 3 critical vulnerabilities within seconds. The protocol officer mistakes his expression for resignation and offers traditional last rites, which Marcus politely declines. The neural interface crown resembles a wreath of delicate silver filaments. As the protocol officer approaches, Marcus notes the being's lower social status. The scales less vibrant, posture deferential, markings minimal compared to the master's. Please remain still, human contestant. This interface requires precise neurological connection. The officer explains, voice softer than the master's. The discomfort will be momentary. When the crown settles onto Marcus's head, cool filaments extend to make contact with his temples. A brief flash of pain gives way to an extraordinary sensation. Information blooming directly in his consciousness, bypassing language entirely. He understands immediately that the Crucible operates in 7 escalating phases. 1. Gravitational pressure, 1.54 Earth standard. 2. Atmospheric composition shifts, reducing oxygen while introducing trace toxins. 3. Temperature extremes, cycling between -40 degrees Celsius and 80 degrees Celsius. 4. Radiation pulses, non-lethal initially, increasing to cellular disruption levels. 5. Sonic disorientation, frequencies calibrated to species-specific neurological vulnerabilities. 6. Electrostatic field manipulation, interfering with nervous system function. 7. Temporal distortion, microsecond variations in localized time fields causing coordination failure. Along with these parameters comes something the Valdorians clearly consider irrelevant: complete technical schematics showing control pathways, emergency protocols, and system architecture. The information arrives tagged as Technical Appendix. Administrative reference only, clearly included automatically as part of the standard rules package. Marcus realizes immediately why. The Valdorians consider it impossible for a contestant to use this information during the challenge itself. The technical data reveals 3 critical vulnerabilities. First, the primary control node requires continuous biofeedback to calibrate challenge intensity. Second, the emergency shutdown system responds to specific patterns of administrator neural signatures. Third, the arena's artificial intelligence prioritizes spectator safety above all other directives. The human appears confused by the technical appendix. The protocol officer communicates to a superior through a subvocal channel. As expected, their species lacks integrated technological comprehension. I understand the rules, Marcus says carefully, keeping his expression neutral. The Crucible intensifies environmental challenges until biological failure occurs. The objective is survival. The officer nods, mandibles clicking in what Marcus now recognizes as mild amusement. Correct, though simplified. Your species has performed poorly in previous trials. Would you like to receive the traditional pre-challenge blessing? Many contestants find comfort in acknowledging the inevitability of their defeat. No blessing necessary, Marcus responds. But I do have one question. The schematics show safety protocols for arena systems. Are those actively monitored? The officer pauses, confused by the unexpected query. Of course, the Grand Coliseum maintains perfect safety records for non-contestants. All systems have redundant monitoring to prevent accidental harm to masters or spectators. Excellent, Marcus says. Safety first. The officer's confusion deepens, clearly interpreting Marcus' response as some strange human ritual phrase rather than the beginning of a strategy. As the crown is removed, Marcus retains perfect recall of the schematics, another feature the Valdorians hadn't anticipated, having evolved without photographic memory themselves. Prepare for transfer to the arena floor, the officer announces. Your trial begins in 3 minutes. The masters have increased their wager pool to record levels for a human contestant. Marcus nods, already mapping out precise movements and timing in his mind. Tell them I appreciate their confidence. The arena floor opens beneath Marcus, dropping him into the crucible, a dome of shifting metal and energy fields. Spectators from 17 star systems watch via dimensional broadcasts. The commentators describe humans as charming curiosities with surprising determination but regrettable physical limitations. The crucible begins its sequence with increased gravity. Marcus feels his body weight double as warning lights pulse. Rather than struggling against it as expected, he launches into a perfectly calculated roll toward a specific panel on the eastern wall. The crowd murmurs in confusion. The human appears disoriented, announces the commentator. Fascinating that it moves toward the environmental control junction, obviously by accident. The sensation of falling lasts 3 seconds before Marcus lands on a cushioned surface that immediately firms beneath him. The crucible extends around him in a perfect dome, its walls comprised of interlocking hexagonal panels that shimmer with contained energy. Above, floating observation platforms carry the most prestigious Valdorians, while ordinary spectators watch from behind transparent barriers. The air carries a faint electrical charge, making the hairs on Marcus's arms stand up. Contestant 7B, human designation Marcus Chen, trial commencing, announces a disembodied voice that echoes throughout the arena. Crucible parameters initializing. Phase 1. Gravitational adjustment. The gravity increases smoothly from Earth normal to double strength. Marcus feels the pressure immediately. His muscles strain, breathing becomes more difficult, and his heart rate elevates to compensate. Around him, the hexagonal panels pulse with deep amber light, signaling the active gravitational field. Across the arena, Marcus identifies his primary target, a subtly different panel that the schematics identified as an environmental control junction. Unlike the other contestants he'd observed in previous matches who tried to endure the conditions by standing their ground, Marcus immediately drops into a crouch and launches himself into a diagonal roll. The crowd's reaction is immediate, a wave of chittering sounds and translator-mediated exclamations fills the Colosseum. The human appears to have lost balance immediately, announces the official commentator, voice amplified throughout the venue. Not unexpected given their species' limited gravitational adaptation capacity. In the premium observation platform, Master Excel leans forward, mandibles clicking rapidly. Curious movement pattern, almost purposeful. Master Vexenar gestures dismissively with his upper arms. Disorientation response. Humans lack the vestibular adaptations necessary for gravitational shifts. The specimen is simply stumbling in random patterns. Marcus completes his roll and transitions smoothly into a modified army crawl, using the increased gravity to maintain low-profile movement while conserving energy. Each motion is precisely calculated, bringing him closer to the control junction while appearing to struggle against the conditions. Phase 1 gravitational challenge increasing to 2.5 standard, announces the system. The pressure intensifies, pushing Marcus harder against the floor. He grunts, making his effort appear greater than it is, while maintaining his trajectory. The commentator continues, note the human's inefficient locomotion. While admirable in its persistence, the specimen clearly lacks understanding of proper movement techniques under increased gravitational conditions. Most experienced contestants would maintain vertical posture to preserve spinal alignment. The spectators watch with a mixture of amusement and curiosity as Marcus continues his seemingly desperate crawl across the arena floor. Some place additional wagers on how long he'll maintain consciousness. Others comment on his unusual approach, though none suspect his true purpose. Fascinating, observes a visiting xenobiologist in the scientific observation section. The human employs a horizontal movement strategy, unlike previous specimens. perhaps an instinctual response from their evolutionary history as pursuit predators. Marcus is now 15 meters from the control junction panel. The gravitational pressure continues to increase incrementally, now reaching nearly 3 times Earth normal. Sweat beads on his forehead as he pushes forward, his measured breathing and focused expression mistaken for desperate determination rather than calculated progress. 17 seconds elapsed, announces the system. Gravitational challenge transition to Phase 2 imminent. Master Vexenar leans forward on his hovering throne, mandibles clicking nervously as Marcus reaches the control junction. The human shouldn't understand its significance, yet he places his palm precisely on the neural recognition pad. The system, designed to recognize administrator emergency protocols, attempts to scan for Valdorian neural patterns. Marcus applies pressure in a specific rhythm that mimics the emergency override sequence he glimpsed in the schematics. Arena's sensors interpret his unique bioelectrical signature as an anomaly requiring safety protocol activation. Brilliant azure light floods the arena as primary systems enter diagnostic mode. 28 seconds have elapsed. Phase 2 initiating. Atmospheric composition shift, announces the system as Marcus reaches within 3 meters of the control junction. The air takes on a greenish tinge, oxygen levels decreasing while trace amounts of xenon and argon increase. Marcus feels the change immediately. His lungs burn slightly, and his vision begins to blur at the edges. Perfect timing. The atmospheric shift has activated the arena's peripheral atmospheric monitoring protocols, temporarily redirecting system resources away from the control junction's security parameters. In the premium observation platform, Master Vexenar rises from his hovering throne, 4 arms gesturing in agitation. The human approaches Junction 7 Alpha. This cannot be coincidental. Master Excel shakes his elaborately adorned head. Impossible. The neural download contains technical schematics, but no non-Valdorian species has ever demonstrated comprehension of our system's architecture. The human simply seeks a wall to brace against. 23 seconds elapsed, announces the system. Contestant vital signs indicate respiratory distress. Marcus reaches the junction panel, flattening himself against the wall as if seeking support. His fingers splay across the surface in what appears to be a desperate attempt to steady himself. In reality, he's precisely positioning his hand over the neural recognition pad concealed within the panel's surface. The pad illuminates with a soft golden glow, scanning his palm and detecting an unexpected pattern, human bioelectricity rather than Valdorian neural signatures. The system hesitates, caught in a classification dilemma. Marcus begins tapping his fingers in a specific sequence: 3 short, 2 long, pause, 4 short, mimicking the emergency override pattern he memorized from the schematics. His unique human bioelectrical signature combined with the rhythm creates an input the system has never encountered. Anomalous input detected at Junction 7 Alpha, the system announces, its tone shifting to a higher register. Administrator verification inconsistent with known patterns, initiating security protocol assessment. In the control center beneath the arena, Valdorian technicians scramble to interpret the unexpected readings. Impossible, mutters the chief systems operator, her scales flaring with alarm. The human is somehow triggering an administrative interface. On his observation platform, Master Vexenar's mandibles click rapidly in distress. Terminate the challenge. The human has. Before he can complete his command, Marcus executes the final sequence, a specific pressure pattern combined with a controlled bioelectric pulse generated by tensing specific muscle groups in sequence, a technique he'd learned during specialized military training for activating certain types of biometric equipment. The system responds with a cascading series of lights across the arena's hexagonal panels. Anomalous authentication detected. Pattern contains elements of emergency protocol but includes unknown variables. Safety contingency Alpha 7 initiating. Brilliant azure light floods the arena as the Crucible enters diagnostic mode. The gravitational field normalizes instantly. The atmospheric composition reverts to standard breathable parameters. Around the arena, spectators rise in confusion as the betting displays freeze. 28 seconds elapsed, announces the system. Challenge parameters compromised. Administrative override in effect. In the silence that follows, Marcus straightens to his full height, breathing normally in the restored atmosphere. He turns toward the main observation platform where the masters watch in stunned disbelief. System responded to emergency protocols. He calls out clearly. Perhaps your challenge parameters need recalibration. Alarms blare throughout the Colosseum. The Crucible's adaptive intelligence, confronted with unprecedented input, initiates its primary directive: protect spectator safety. Environmental systems reset to standard parameters. Gravity normalizes. The battle masters leap from their observation platforms, gesturing frantically at technicians. Master Vexnar shouts, "Impossible." The human has triggered a systems recognition cascade. Marcus stands calmly at the junction, arms crossed, as protective force fields designed to shield administrators during maintenance envelop him. The arena's artificial intelligence announces, anomalous contest resolution detected. Human contestant has achieved environmental neutralization through authorized systems access. Duration, 30 seconds. Contest concluded. The Colosseum erupts into chaos. Spectators from dozens of worlds rise from their seats, translator devices struggling to keep pace with the cacophony of languages expressing disbelief. Floating camera drones swarm toward Marcus, their lenses focusing on the human who stands protected within a shimmering azure energy field, a field designed to protect arena administrators during maintenance procedures. In the control center, Chief Technician Zexilla frantically accesses system logs. The human somehow created a neural pattern that registered as a partial administrator signature, she reports, scales paling with stress. The system interpreted it as an emergency initiated by an administrator under duress. On the main command platform, Supreme Master Excel slams one set of arms against the railing. Override the safety protocols. Resume the challenge. The Chief Technician's mandibles quiver. Impossible, Supreme Master. The human activated primary safety directives. By arena operational law, all challenges must terminate if administrative safety protocols engage. The system believes an administrator triggered emergency procedures from within the arena. Across the Colosseum, betting terminals flash with warning symbols. The unexpected outcome has crashed the wagering algorithms, leaving thousands of bettors in limbo. Financial officers rush to contain the damage as the automated announcement system continues its declarations. Challenge duration, 30 seconds. Human contestant survival confirmed. Status update. Challenge parameters satisfied through regulatory exception clause 7 delta. Master Vexnar activates the direct communication channel to the arena floor. Human, you have violated the spirit of the challenge. This outcome is invalid. Marcus remains calm, protected by the force field. Having studied the arena schematics, he understands his position better than the masters realize. I reviewed your rules carefully during the neural download. The challenge objective is survival beyond initial challenge parameters. There are no restrictions on methodology. The arena's artificial intelligence confirms, contestant assessment accurate. Crucible protocols permit any survival methodology not explicitly forbidden in pre-challenge disclosures. Current status: human contestant has achieved valid challenge resolution through systems interaction. Duration logged officially as 30 seconds. Supreme Master Excel signals frantically to his security forces, but they hesitate at the arena entrance. The force field protecting Marcus is part of the Colosseum's most fundamental safety systems. Attempting to breach it would trigger catastrophic security countermeasures that could endanger everyone present. The human must have had outside assistance. Master Vexnard insists, addressing the gathered officials. No species with their limited technological development could comprehend our system's architecture. From his protected position, Marcus calls out clearly enough for the broadcast drones to capture. Your systems are impressive but predictable. You included complete technical specifications in the neural download, assuming I couldn't comprehend them. On Earth, we have a saying, never underestimate your opponent. The senior regulatory official, a Valdorian with ancient fated scales, steps forward on the main platform. The contest outcome, while unprecedented, appears valid under established protocols. The human contestant exploited an unforeseen vulnerability in our system's architecture while remaining within challenge parameters. Throughout the Coliseum, spectators begin recording the unprecedented event on personal devices. Some cheer the unexpected outcome while others demand refunds. Regulatory officials confer urgently, mandibles clicking in agitated patterns. The arena intelligence makes its final determination. Challenge officially concluded. Human contestant Marcus Chen has established a new species record for the Crucible. Status upgraded to protected competitor under Intergalactic Sporting Code 447. The Coliseum erupts in chaos as betting systems crash from the unexpected outcome. Some spectators demand refunds while others cheer the unprecedented resolution. The Battlemasters convene an emergency council directly in the arena, surrounding Marcus with a mixture of outrage and reluctant admiration. You exploited information we considered irrelevant, Master Vexnar states. No species has ever approached our challenge with intellectual strategy rather than physical endurance. Marcus responds simply, on Earth, we learn early that understanding systems is more valuable than raw strength. Perhaps humans have something to teach the Valdorians about the nature of true challenge. The Emergency Council convenes on the arena floor, the 7 highest-ranking Battlemasters descending from their platforms on gravity disks. Their imposing forms create a circle around Marcus, though the protective field remains active. The Master's scales shift through colors, expressing emotions untranslatable to human perception, but their body language communicates clear agitation. Supreme Master Excel steps forward, his ceremonial armor glinting under the arena lights. In 17,000 cycles of the Grand Trials, no contestant has ever achieved victory through systems manipulation rather than physical endurance. The human has exposed a fundamental misconception in our challenge design. Marcus stands tall despite his exhaustion. The protective field shimmers around him, its energy signature fluctuating with the arena's recalibration processes. Beyond the Masters, he sees technicians working frantically at control consoles, while regulatory officials confer with legal advisors. I simply used the information provided to me, Marcus explains, careful to maintain respectful tones while standing his ground. Your neural interface included complete technical specifications. I recognize that the Crucible operates on continuous feedback between contested biology and environmental systems. Master Vexinar's mandibles click rapidly in what Marcus now recognizes as their expression of intense frustration. The specifications were included as procedural documentation, not as tactical information. No species has ever interpreted them as exploitable data. That elder Valdorian with pale, translucent scales steps forward from the regulatory committee. The human contestant's methodology, while unprecedented, violates no established rules of engagement. Our protocols explicitly state that survival by any means not specifically prohibited constitutes valid challenge resolution. The Coliseum's public announcement system confirms human contestant Marcus Chen has been officially certified as having completed the Crucible challenge with a duration of 30 seconds. Protected competitor status has been conferred in accordance with Intergalactic Sporting Code. Throughout the stands, spectators from various species engage in heated debates. Marcus notices representatives from worlds he doesn't recognize recording the proceedings, clearly recognizing the historical significance of the moment. Several non-Valdorian observers appear particularly interested, their attention focused intently on him. The implications extend beyond this single event. Master Excel acknowledges, addressing both Marcus and his fellow masters. If a previously unknown species can identify and exploit system vulnerabilities so readily, we must reconsider our approach to challenge design. Marcus recognizes the opportunity presented by this moment. On Earth, we value adaptability above raw power. Our history taught us that understanding systems, whether natural, social, or technological, offers greater advantage than physical dominance alone. The protective field finally powers down as arena systems complete their diagnostic cycle. Marcus steps forward, extending his hand in the human gesture of peaceful negotiation. Perhaps this represents an opportunity for both our species. The Valdorians clearly excel at creating complex systems. Humans excel at finding unexpected approaches to challenges. There could be mutual benefit in collaboration. Master Vexenar studies the outstretched hand with multiple eyes, clearly processing the unfamiliar gesture. After a moment's hesitation, he extends his upper right arm, mirroring the human motion. Your species warrants further study. The Grand Council will need to reassess humanity's classification in the Galactic Registry. Throughout the Colosseum, recording devices capture the unprecedented moment. A human and Valdorian master engaged in formal recognition. The significance isn't lost on the spectators, who fall into hushed observation. The contestant proposes an intriguing perspective. Master Excel acknowledges. Perhaps the true measure of advancement lies not in creating perfect systems, but in continually finding their imperfections. One solar cycle later, the Intergalactic Combat League introduces its newest division, Strategic Engagement, with Marcus Chen as its human commissioner. The Valdorians, recognizing an opportunity for evolution, have established formal diplomatic relations with Earth. The once simple combat spectacles have transformed into complex strategic challenges that value adaptability and innovation alongside physical prowess. Species across the galaxy now study human history and methodology, particularly impressed by concepts like chess, strategic military doctrine, and competitive sports. As Marcus addresses the Galactic Council on the one-year anniversary of his abduction, he concludes, "The greatest strength isn't in powerful bodies or advanced technology, but in minds willing to question assumptions. The universe rewards those who solve problems rather than simply endure them." The Grand Colosseum has been redesigned, its architecture incorporating elements of human design principles alongside traditional Valdorian aesthetics. The central arena now features multiple engagement zones, each challenging contestants in different domains. Physical endurance remains, but alongside tests of strategic thinking, adaptive problem-solving, and creative innovation. Marcus stands at the podium in the newly constructed diplomatic chamber, addressing representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations. His formal attire combines elements of Earth military dress with Valdorian ceremonial markings, symbolizing his unique position as humanity's first galactic ambassador. 1 year ago, I entered the Crucible as an unwilling contestant. Marcus begins, his voice carried through translation fields to each representative in their native language. Today, I stand before you as proof that advancement comes through unexpected paths. The Valdorian Human Cooperative has established 3 joint research facilities, exploring the integration of human cognitive approaches with advanced Valdorian technology. In the audience, Master Vexenar, now appointed as special liaison to Earth, observes with multiple eyes. His scales have taken on the blue-gold patterning that Valdorians reserve for those who have brought evolutionary advancement to their culture. Beside him sits General Helena Santos, Earth's military representative, who has spent 6 months studying Valdorian combat methodology while sharing human strategic doctrine. The Strategic Engagement Division has revolutionized interspecies competition, Marcus continues. Contestants now face challenges requiring both physical capability and cognitive flexibility. 17 species previously classified as non-competitive have achieved remarkable success in these new formats. Holographic displays around the chamber show footage from recent competitions. A physically unimposing Novalian contestant navigating a Valdorian maze by reconfiguring its architecture rather than attempting to overcome its obstacles. An Earth team demonstrating game theory applications to solve resource allocation challenges that had stumped physically superior species for generations. Perhaps most significantly, Marcus notes, wagering revenues have increased by 300% as spectators find greater engagement in competitions that challenge their own assumptions. The gambling algorithms now incorporate unpredictability factors based on human mathematical models. Supreme Master Excel, who initially resisted the changes, rises from his ceremonial position to address the gathering. His once skeptical demeanor has evolved into measured respect. The Valdorian battle masters have existed for 12,000 years, Excel acknowledges. In that time, we perfected the art of physical challenge, but failed to recognize the limitations of our perspective. The human approach to competition, valuing adaptability and creative thinking alongside raw capability, has revealed new evolutionary paths for all participating species. The chamber's atmosphere shifts as a previously silent representative from the ancient Moraxian collective, a species known for their reluctance to engage with younger civilizations, activates their communication field. We have observed these developments with interest. The Moraxian states, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. The human capacity to recontextualize established systems suggests potential solutions to challenges that have remained intractable for millennia. We formally request inclusion in the strategic engagement protocols. As the chamber erupts in surprised murmurs, the Moraxians haven't participated in interspecies activities for over 2,000 years. Marcus exchanges a knowing glance with Master Vexenar. What began as a simple survival scenario has catalyzed a fundamental shift in galactic cooperation. The universe rewards those who solve problems rather than simply endure them, Marcus repeats, concluding his address. Earth stands ready to share our perspective, even as we learn from the advanced knowledge of our new allies. The greatest challenges create the most unexpected solutions and the most valuable connections.